Coca-Cola Classic in the Tirana car 71, John Nesbitt. In grid position 2, another Tirana 98, Alan Denyer. Grid position 3 has gone to one of the big Falcons, car 37, Peter Unwin. In grid position 4, the tiny mini of Brian Burrell. In grid position 5, the Tirana of Dave Hibbett. In position 6, we have the Hannell Street Brick Monza of Don McEwen 118. Behind Don McEwen in this year's Coca-Cola Classic, car 6, the Chev Spider of Ralph Ranger. Grid position 9 goes to the Tirana, number 17, of Ian Walters. One car I overlooked there, I must apologise to John Smith, who's up there in the Chev Monza car 41. So John Smith, very well drawn. Behind Ian Walters in car number 38, the big black Falcon of Gary Bevan. In the next grid position behind Bevan, Tirana 91 of Bernie Johnson. Then comes the former Coca-Cola Classic winner from the north coast of New South Wales, Adrian Anderson. Behind Adrian Anderson, another of our northern visitors, Queensland 21, Scott Hutchison. Behind Scott Hutchison, the Rookie of the Year last year, in car 67, the Street and Strip Tirana of Graham Lilford. Then comes the qualifiers from the qualifying repechage, who have to start from the back of the pack in the order that they finished in that race, and they'll be headed up by Newcastle's club champion, Paul McHugh. Car 29, the Tirana of Steve O'Connor, is the next car on the grid. Followed by car 79, another vastly improved performer, the Tirana of Gary Searle. Right back towards the back of the pack, and he'll have to fight his way through one of the early favourites, Queensland's Alan Butcher. The youngster from the United States, who's happy that he's drawn towards the back of the pack so he can settle down, Tom Rosati. In the second last position on the grid will be the Datsun number 20 of Gordon Cox. And the final car to take the field in the 1979 Coca-Cola 1000 will be car 36, the Falcon of Ken Baker. Baker gets his chance to start in the big field because Stu Robertson in the supercharged Datsun cannot make it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the field for the 1979 Coca-Cola 1000. We now set back for the 50 exciting laps.
The cars start to roll for you under the Speedway salute. All drivers acknowledge you, the spectator, for the support that you give them, and they are under the crossed flags of the Speedway salute, giving you, the patrons of the International Motordrome, that Speedway salute. Give your favourite driver all the urging on that you can. Some of them have drawn well, others have drawn badly. It looks as if it will be one of the most exciting Coca-Cola Classics that have ever been conducted here at the International Motordrome. And for one of the very rare occasions in his life, I noticed that double-headed penny has worked for Brian Burrell and he's drawn position number 3. Drivers giving you, the spectators on the southern bank, the Speedway salute prior to the start of the 1979 Coca-Cola 1000, one of the classic events of the year, 50 pulsating laps of speedway action, and to take the race away for you, no better guy to call it than Ross.
Well, thanks, Rod. You've really built up the atmosphere for this event, and now it's up to the drivers and you, the fans down there. Can it be a local victory, or will a visitor win this year's Coca-Cola 1000? The 50 laps of this race are about to unfold. Can you imagine the tension of the drivers down there at the moment? Anxious to do their very best. The $1,000 check staring them in the face. From the grid draw, the early favourites for the event must certainly be Brian Burrell and John Smith, the former TQ car champions of Australia. Other well-fancied runners who have drawn well are Ralph Ranger and Don McEwen and Peter Unwin. And then right at the back of the pack, Queensland's Alan Butcher and United States' Tom Rosati will have to let the race unfold before them. Coca-Cola 1000 1979. The very first lap begins to unfold, and everybody seems to be taking it nice and smoothly too. And it was Alan Denyer who moved fastest and put the first lap behind him as the race leader. Alan Denyer in the Tirana number 98 leading away. Closely pursued then by Peter Unwin in the Falcon. Brian Burrell is next, and there's a big charge back there with Gary Bevan becoming involved there with Adrian Anderson. And Bevan came out of it all right, though. He held on nicely. Back to the race lead, and it's Alan Denyer showing the way. Our races run uninterrupted for the first few tense and exciting laps as drivers begin to sort themselves out, to sort out their tactics in the race and just how are they going to approach it. Well, the drivers up front look like they're going to go for broke, and Alan Denyer in the Tirana number 98 is leading away. Alan Denyer, one of the only B-grade drivers in the race. One of the B-grade drivers in the race, and he's only been up into that grade for just a few weeks. And he's certainly doing a fine job. Alan Denyer, Brian Burrell, John Smith and Peter Unwin. Here's the first caution flag going out, and it went to Scott Harrison, the Queenslander, in car 21. Bevan got a little crossed up there and untidy, and this allowed Graham Lilford and Adrian Anderson to bounce in underneath him. Ralph Ranger starting. Oh, Bevan's crossed. He bounced back off the fence all right, though, and only lost a couple of placings. Look at this race up front, though. Brian Burrell and Alan Denyer. Denyer on the inside, Burrell on the outside, and John Smith in the Monza waiting to pounce through too. There's no... Smith got a touch there on the Tirana, and it's thrown the car out of action. Bad luck for Smith. That little bump on the tail end there of Alan Denyer caused him problems. But look at Denyer and Burrell. They're door handle, they're door handle. They've been running like that for 2 laps, and Burrell now says, I can't do it. I'm going to have to tuck behind. Brian Burrell now looking for the inside on Denyer. But well done, Alan Denyer. He's driving a top race at the moment. Alan Denyer, Brian Burrell fighting it out up front. And a pack of cars behind them too, with Don McEwen now. Oh, there's a spin for Hutchison. Right in front of Ian Walters, a big 360. Burrell gets the... Oh, there's the yellow light, though. The yellow light goes on as Brian Burrell was beginning to make another forward dive on Alan Denyer up front. Well, the race is starting to unfold now. The pressure's great. The caution flag's been out. This is our first stoppage with 42 laps to go. And what a magnificent job the B-grader Alan Denyer is doing. Alan Denyer in 98 showing the way from Brian Burrell. Peter Unwin and Don McEwen threatening danger right behind. Ian Walters moving back into his position. With Graham Lilford and Adrian Anderson also moving forward. Newcastle's champion Paul McHugh has made his way through the pack very menacingly quickly too. The David's 2HD Mini seems to be firing okay at the moment. It hasn't gone. Gary Searle. Yes, the stewards have decided that Scott Hutchison is rear of field. Hutchison is discussing the problem with them at the moment, but there's no interest in it, no interest in that discussion at all. With Scott Hutchison in the Monza. Is the official lap figure to go. 43 to go, and Alan Denyer still leading this charge. Now Burrell tried to get the jump on Denyer there, and I think he might have got away with it too. Burrell gives it that little bit of football down the back, and Brian Burrell becomes the race leader. And here's the black flag coming out now. Brian Burrell from Alan Denyer. Then comes Ian Walters. The black flag is out. Let's look who it's for at the moment. The black flag is out for Scott Hutchison. Black flag out for the Queensland driver, Scott Hutchison, as we go yellow again.